In the Martinez family, being the favorite meant everything. And my sister Isabella had been Grandma Carmen's declared favorite since birth. Mi princesa, Grandma would call her. My princess. Isabella was beautiful, charming, the granddaughter who looked like Grandma did in her youth. She had the same dark eyes, the same warm smile, the same ability to light up a room. I was Sophia, 3 years younger, quieter, more interested in numbers than people. While Isabella performed for family gatherings, I'd help Grandma in the kitchen or organize her business paperwork. Grandma Carmen had built something remarkable. She'd immigrated from Mexico City in 1979 with 2 suitcases and a business degree that American companies barely recognized. She'd worked as a cleaning lady while learning English, then gradually built a commercial cleaning company that serviced office buildings across San Antonio. By 1995, Martinez Commercial Cleaning had 40 employees and contracts worth $2.8 million annually. Grandma sold the business in 2010 for $4.5 million and invested the proceeds in real estate, 5 small apartment buildings in San Antonio's growing neighborhoods. By 2018, the portfolio was worth approximately $6.2 million and generating $42,000 in monthly rental income. Everyone in the family assumed it would go to Isabella. Grandma certainly seemed to reinforce that assumption. When you inherit the properties, Majida, Grandma would say to Isabella at family dinners, you'll need to understand property management. Isabella would nod and smile, but I noticed she never actually asked questions or showed real interest. She liked the idea of inheriting wealth, but not the work that came with managing it. I, meanwhile, had spent years actually learning the business. I'd gotten a degree in accounting from UT San Antonio, started working as a property accountant at a real estate firm. I'd help Grandma with her books every weekend, reconciling rent payments, tracking expenses, preparing tax documents. You're so good at this, Sophia, Grandma would say. Such attention to detail. But that praise was always private. In public, at family gatherings, Grandma would still talk about Isabella inheriting everything. The dynamic became more complicated in 2016 when Isabella married Derek, a real estate developer with big ideas and bigger debts. Derek saw Grandma's properties as future capital for his development projects. Once the properties are in the family, Derek would say at dinners, we can leverage the equity for new developments. Really grow the portfolio. Grandma would smile noncommittally, but I noticed the tightness around her eyes. She'd built those properties slowly, carefully, with no debt. The idea of leveraging equity was antithetical to everything she believed about real estate investing. In early 2018, something shifted. Grandma called me one Sunday and asked me to meet her at her attorney's office. I assumed she needed help understanding some tax documents. Instead, I walked into a meeting with Elena Ruiz, an estate planning attorney I'd never heard of. Sophia, Grandma said, her hand warm on mine, I need to tell you something. I've been lying to the family for years. My heart sank. About what? About who I want to inherit the properties, Grandma said quietly. I've let everyone think it's Isabella because it's easier than dealing with your mother's anger and your sister's tears. But it's not true. She slid documents across the table. I'm creating an irrevocable trust. All 5 properties, all my investments, everything. The trust executes immediately and transfers complete ownership to you. I stared at her, stunned. Grandma, I can't. Isabella will. Isabella will spend everything within 3 years, Grandma interrupted. She'll let Derek leverage the properties for his schemes, take on debt, risk what I spent 40 years building. You're the only one who understands that real estate isn't about flash or leverage. It's about steady, careful management. Elena explained the legal structure. An irrevocable trust meant exactly that, once executed, it couldn't be undone or contested. The properties would transfer immediately to me, with Grandma retaining a life estate in her own residence. But why lie to everyone? I asked. Why let them think Isabella is inheriting if it's not true? Grandma's expression hardened. Because I want to see how they treat you. I want to watch how Isabella acts when she thinks she's getting everything and you're getting nothing. I want her parents to show me whether they value both daughters equally or just the one they think will be rich. That's cruel, I whispered. That's revealing, Grandma corrected. And when the moment comes, when they've all shown their true colors, that's when the truth will come out. You'll have the legal protection of the irrevocable trust, and they'll have to face what they've become. We signed the papers on March 8, 2018. 5 property deeds transferred to the Martinez family trust with me as sole trustee and beneficiary. Everything filed with Behar County, completely legal and binding. Total portfolio value, $6.2 million. Monthly rental income, $42,000. And I told no one. For the next 5 years, I lived in a surreal parallel reality. Publicly, I was Sophia Martinez, property accountant making $72,000 a year, living in a modest townhouse, driving a 7-year-old Mazda. The overlooked granddaughter who'd done fine, but nothing spectacular. Privately, I owned $6.2 million in real estate, generating $42,000 monthly, $504,000 annually in gross rental income. The properties required active management. Tenant issues, maintenance emergencies, property tax payments. Grandma and I worked out an arrangement where she'd remain the public face of property ownership while I handled all the actual work behind the scenes. I'd collect rent through a property management LLC I'd created, pay all expenses, coordinate repairs, handle tenant turnover. Grandma would sign documents when needed, but I was doing everything. The monthly net income after all expenses was approximately $31,000, $372,000 annually. More than 5 times my accounting salary. I could have quit my job. Instead, I kept working and reinvested every penny of the rental income. I paid down the few remaining mortgages on 2 of the properties. I built a reserve fund of $180,000 for major repairs. I quietly upgraded units, new appliances, fresh paint, modernized bathrooms. By 2023, the portfolio value had grown to $7.8 million. Monthly rental income had increased to $48,000. I owned 4 properties free and clear, with only 1 small mortgage remaining. And my family had no idea. Meanwhile, Isabella played the role of heir apparent perfectly. At family gatherings, she'd talk about her future properties and her plans to modernize Grandma's portfolio. Derek would discuss development opportunities and equity strategies. We're thinking about selling 2 of the properties and using the capital to build a mixed-use development, Derek announced at Thanksgiving 2021. Really maximize the return on investment. Grandma smiled tightly. Those properties generate steady income. Why would I want to risk that? Risk is how you build wealth, Mama Carmen, Derek said condescendingly. Steady income is fine, but real growth requires leverage. I sat at the far end of the table, saying nothing, knowing that every property Derek wanted to leverage was already legally mine. The way my family treated me during those years was quietly devastating. Not overtly cruel, they weren't monsters. Just dismissive. Uninterested. Operating under the assumption that I'd be fine with my accounting job, while Isabella would be the one with real wealth. Sophia's always been practical, Mom would say, like it was both a compliment and a limitation. Not everyone needs to be exceptional. At Christmas 2022, Isabella showed up with expensive gifts for everyone, $300 watches, designer handbags, electronics. She made a show of her generosity, funded by credit cards and Derek's inconsistent income. I brought homemade gifts, photo albums I'd created, knitted scarves, baked goods. Thoughtful but cheap. That's sweet, Sophia, Isabella said with a patronizing smile. Very you. Dad barely looked at my gifts. Isabella, this watch is beautiful. You've always had such good taste. I helped Grandma in the kitchen while they all admired Isabella's purchased affection. Grandma caught my eye and squeezed my hand. Soon, she whispered. Soon they'll understand. Grandma's health started declining in late 2022. She was 78, still mentally sharp but physically frail. She'd had a couple of minor heart episodes. The doctors said she had maybe a year, possibly 2. Isabella immediately started acting like the grieving favorite. She'd post on Facebook about cherishing time with Grandma after 15-minute visits. She'd talk about preserving Grandma's legacy while planning to dismantle everything Grandma had built. I visited Grandma every day. Sometimes we'd talk business, reviewing tenant issues, discussing property maintenance. Sometimes we'd just sit together, watching her favorite telenovelas, enjoying the comfortable silence. "Thank you for actually caring," Grandma said one evening. "Not about the properties.
About me."
I love you, Grandma," I said simply. "The properties don't matter. You do." She smiled. "The properties matter because they represent my life's work. And they're going to someone who understands that. Someone who'll protect them." Grandma passed away peacefully on January 15th, 2024. I was holding her hand. Her last words to me were, "Don't let them bully you. Stand your ground." I wouldn't. Grandma's funeral was everything she would have hated: loud, performative, full of people who'd barely visited her in her final years. Isabella wore designer black and cried beautifully for the cameras. Derek played the supportive son-in-law. Mom and Dad held court, accepting condolences like dignitaries. I stood in the back, my grief too real and private for display. After the funeral, Dad announced there would be an estate meeting the following week to discuss Mama Carmen's properties and wishes. My stomach clenched. This was it. I immediately texted Elena Ruiz. "The meeting is happening next Tuesday." She replied, "I'll be ready. I have something special prepared." Tuesday arrived cold and gray. The meeting was at a conference room Dad had rented, unnecessarily formal for a family discussion, but very on-brand for the performance. I arrived to find everyone already seated. Mom and Dad at the head of the table. Isabella and Derek beside them, looking confident and important. My younger cousin Anna, my Aunt Teresa, and a few other family members scattered around. And someone I didn't recognize, a man in an expensive suit sitting beside Dad, with a briefcase full of documents. "Sophia, you're late," Dad said, though I was actually 5 minutes early. "Sorry," I said quietly, taking a seat at the far end of the table. Dad cleared his throat. "We're here to discuss Mama's estate. I've asked Richard here," he gestured to the suited man, "to help facilitate the property transfer since Mama's wishes were clear." "Grandma always said I'd get everything," Isabella declared confidently. "The family business, the rentals, all of it." She looked directly at me, her expression a mix of sympathy and superiority. "I know this might be hard for you, Sophia, but Grandma and I had a special relationship." She always said I reminded her of herself. Dad smirked at me. "You were never her favorite." The casual cruelty took my breath away. Not because it was surprising. I'd been watching this dynamic for years. But because he said it out loud, in front of everyone, with such casual dismissal. I said nothing. I just checked my watch. 1:58 p.m. Richard opened his briefcase. "I've prepared the property transfer documents. Once everyone reviews and signs, we can begin the process of transferring the 5 properties to Isabella and Derek." "Actually," Mom added, "we think it makes sense to transfer them to a family LLC that Isabella and Derek will manage. That way the properties stay in the family name." Derek was already pulling out his own documents. "I've drafted a business plan for optimizing the portfolio. We'll sell 2 properties immediately to capitalize a development fund." The conference room door opened. Elena Ruiz walked in, carrying a locked mahogany box that looked old and expensive. Behind her was a notary and a court reporter with a stenography machine. Everyone turned, confused. "I'm sorry for the interruption," Elena said pleasantly. "I'm Elena Ruiz, estate attorney for Carmen Martinez. I was instructed to appear at this meeting at exactly 2 p.m. I checked my watch. 2 p.m. exactly. Elena set the locked box on the table. "Ms. Martinez?" She looked directly at me. "Your grandmother's private instructions from 2018 are ready to be read." Isabella screamed. "What instructions?" The room erupted into chaos. "What is this?" Dad demanded. "Who are you?" "I already introduced myself," Elena said calmly. I'm Carmen Martinez's estate attorney. I've worked with her since 2018 on confidential estate planning matters. We already have an estate attorney, Mom said, pointing to Richard. We don't need. Richard is your attorney, Elena corrected. I'm Carmen's attorney. There's a difference. She pulled out a key and unlocked the mahogany box. Inside were documents, letters, and a flash drive. Wait, Isabella said, her voice shaking now. Grandma told me I was inheriting everything. She said it constantly. There can't be different instructions. Carmen said many things to many people, Elena said. But what matters legally is what she documented in writing. She pulled out the first document, the irrevocable trust agreement from March 8, 2018. On March 8, 2018, Carmen Martinez executed an irrevocable trust transferring all 5 of her rental properties to her granddaughter Sofia Martinez. The trust executed immediately, meaning ownership transferred at that time, not upon Carmen's death. The silence was absolute and complete, then explosive. That's impossible, Isabella shrieked, standing up so violently her chair fell backward. Grandma would never. Carmen absolutely did, Elena said. She began laying out documents. Here is the trust agreement, properly executed and notarized. Here are 5 property deeds, all showing transfer from Carmen Martinez to the Martinez Family Trust with Sofia as sole trustee and beneficiary. All filed with Behar County on March 8, 2018. Document after document hit the table. County stamps, notary seals, transfer dates all showing March 2018. This has to be fraud, Derek shouted. Sofia manipulated an old woman. Carmen Martinez was 69 years old when she executed this trust, Elena interrupted coldly. She was evaluated by 2 independent physicians who certified her as fully mentally competent. Furthermore, she worked with 3 different attorneys, myself and 2 others, all of whom confirmed she understood exactly what she was doing. She pulled out medical evaluations and attorney affidavits. Dad's face had gone from red to white. 6 years? Sofia's owned the properties for 6 years. Yes, Elena confirmed. Sofia has been the legal owner since March 2018. She's been managing the properties, collecting rent, paying all expenses, handling all maintenance. The properties have been hers for over 5 years. Richard, the attorney Dad had brought, was speed reading through the trust documents. His expression grew grimmer with each page. This appears to be legally executed, he said quietly. Filed properly with the county. I don't see any obvious grounds for contest. There has to be something. Isabella was crying now, ugly, angry tears. Grandma promised me. She said it all the time. This is a lie. Elena pulled out another document from the box, a letter in Grandma's handwriting. Carmen anticipated this reaction, Elena said. She wrote a letter explaining her decision. Would you like me to read it? No, Isabella shouted. Yes, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken since Elena arrived. Elena unfolded the letter and began to read in a clear, steady voice. To my family, if you are hearing this letter, it means Sofia has revealed the truth about the trust. I expect you are shocked and angry. Some of you may feel betrayed. Good. Now you know how I felt watching you assume Sofia was worth less than Isabella. Mom gasped. Dad's jaw clenched. Isabella was shaking her head in denial. Elena continued. For years, I told everyone that Isabella would inherit everything. This was a lie. I lied to see how you would treat my granddaughters when you thought one was rich and one was not. I wanted to see if your love was conditional on money. Isabella, you are beautiful and charming, and I loved you. But you saw my properties as an inheritance, not a responsibility. You talked about selling them, leveraging them, risking them. You married a man who saw my life's work as capital for his schemes. Derek's face was bright red. He started to speak, but Elena held up a hand. Sofia, meanwhile, showed up every weekend to help with my books. She learned property management not because she expected to inherit, but because she cared about my business. She understood that real estate is not about flash or leverage. It's about patient, careful stewardship. My eyes were filling with tears. I'm leaving Isabella and other family members substantial cash for my other assets. You will not be poor. But my properties, my real legacy, go to the granddaughter who earned them through loyalty, integrity, and actual work. The letter continued. If you choose to contest this, you will lose. The trust is ironclad. But more importantly, you will prove that you valued my money more than my wishes. Choose wisely. It ended with Grandma's signature and a date, March 7th, 2018, one day before the trust was executed. Elena carefully folded the letter and placed it back in the box. Then she pulled out the flash drive. Carmen also recorded a video message in 2018. She wanted to make her intentions absolutely clear. She plugged the drive into a laptop and turned the screen toward the table. Grandma appeared on the screen, sitting in her kitchen, looking healthy and sharp. The date stamp showed March 7th, 2018. If you're watching this, Grandma said on the video, it means my trust has been revealed, and some of you are upset. Too bad. Even from beyond the grave, Grandma was formidable. I built my properties through 40 years of hard work. I cleaned toilets so I could buy my first building. I worked 70-hour weeks to grow my business. I saved every penny and invested carefully. These properties represent my life's blood, sweat, and tears. She looked directly into the camera. Isabella, I love you, but I don't trust you with my legacy. You're too focused on appearance over substance. Too easily influenced by Derek's big ideas and risky schemes. Within 3 years, you'd sell or leverage everything I built. Isabella was sobbing now, her face in her hands. Sophia, Grandma continued on the video, her voice softer. You showed up. Every weekend, every crisis, every mundane bookkeeping task. You understood that property management isn't glamorous. It's work. Real, patient, careful work. You're the only one I trust to protect what I built. Grandma's image smiled. To anyone thinking about contesting this, don't. The trust is legal and irrevocable. Sophia has owned these properties for years. Trying to take them from her will cost you money and dignity. Accept the cash inheritances I've left you and move on with your lives. The video ended. The room was silent except for Isabella's crying. Elena closed the laptop and pulled out one final document. Carmen's will distribute her remaining assets, approximately $1.8 million in cash and investments. Isabella receives $600,000. Her other grandchildren and family members receive various amounts. Sophia receives nothing from the will because she already has the properties. She looked around the table. However, the will contains a contest clause. Anyone who legally challenges the trust or attempts to pressure Sophia into sharing the properties will forfeit their inheritance entirely. The threat was clear and effective. Fight and lose everything, or accept the money and walk away. Mom found her voice cold and bitter. How could you do this, Sophia? Let us all believe Isabella was inheriting while you planned this betrayal? I didn't plan anything, I said quietly. Grandma did. She set this up 6 years ago. She asked me not to tell anyone. I honored her wishes. You could have told us, Dad shouted. You let us make fools of ourselves. You made yourselves fools, I said, my voice harder now. For 6 years, you treated me like I was worth less than Isabella because you thought she'd be rich and I'd be ordinary. You showed me exactly how conditional your love was. I stood up. Grandma gave me her properties because I earned them. I spent 6 years managing them while working full-time as an accountant. I collected rent, coordinated repairs, handled difficult tenants, paid taxes, built reserves. I did the actual work while Isabella talked about plans she'd never execute. Isabella looked up, her face blotchy with tears. I thought Grandma loved me. She did love you, I said, not unkindly. But she didn't trust you. There's a difference. I picked up my bag. Elena began packing her documents back into the mahogany box. Derek tried one last angle. This is going to bankrupt you, Sophia. Property taxes alone are over $90,000 a year. Maintenance, insurance, vacancies. You can't afford it on your salary. The properties generate $48,000 in monthly rent, I said calmly. That's $576,000 a year gross. After all expenses, they net approximately $380,000 annually. I've been managing them for 6 years. I know exactly what they cost and what they earn. Derek's mouth opened and closed. I don't need your development schemes or equity leverage, I continued. The properties are profitable as they are. I'll continue Grandma's philosophy, steady, careful management with no debt. Unlike your approach, which would have destroyed them within 3 years. I walked toward the door. Elena followed. Behind me, Isabella's voice. I hate you. Grandma was supposed to be mine. I turned back. Grandma was never yours. She was her own person who made her own choices. You just assumed you deserved everything because you were pretty and charming. Grandma taught me that legacy is earned, not inherited. And then I walked out, leaving my family in ruins behind me. The fallout was immediate and complete. Isabella contested the trust despite the warning. She couldn't help herself. Her attorney filed papers challenging the trust's validity on grounds of undue influence. The case was dismissed within 3 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Medical evaluations, multiple attorneys confirming Grandma's competence, 6 years of recorded ownership with no challenge. The judge called Isabella's case frivolous and without merit. As specified in Grandma's will, Isabella forfeited her $600,000 inheritance. The money was redirected to a scholarship fund Grandma had established for first-generation college students. Derek and Isabella's marriage collapsed within a year. Turned out most of their lifestyle was funded by credit card debt and the assumption of a massive inheritance that never materialized. My relationship with my parents never recovered. They chose to side with Isabella, viewing me as the architect of a betrayal rather than the recipient of earned trust. But here's what I built instead. 5 years after Grandma's death, the Martinez property portfolio has grown to $9.2 million in value. I've added 2 more properties, using the substantial income generated by the original 5. Monthly rental income, $64,000. Annual net income, $485,000. I quit my accounting job and now manage the properties full-time, running Martinez Properties LLC with 3 employees. We maintain the steady, debt-free approach Grandma taught me. I established the Carmen Martinez Scholarship Fund using Isabella's forfeited inheritance, helping young Latinos pursue degrees in business and real estate. And I found my real family, not the one I was born into, but the one I chose. Property managers, tenants who became friends, community members who valued what Grandma built. Last week, a young woman knocked on my office door. Ms. Martinez? I received the Carmen Martinez Scholarship. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I looked at her, young, nervous, full of potential, and saw myself at that age. My grandmother would be proud, I said. She believed in creating opportunities, not just inheriting them. As the young woman left, I thought about that estate meeting 5 years ago. About the locked box Elena had carried in. About Isabella's screams when she realized the inheritance she'd assumed was never hers. I didn't regret any of it. Because Grandma had taught me the most important lesson. Real legacy isn't about what you're given. It's about what you do with it. It's about showing up, doing the work, and honoring the people who believed in you. The $9.2 million portfolio was proof I'd learned that lesson. But the real inheritance was knowing that Grandma had seen my worth when no one else did, and that I'd honored her trust by becoming exactly what she knew I could be. That was worth more than any amount of money.